program o DSWD, AIX program from DSWD or Duli Tupad program.
In Barangay Agdao in Davao, some barangay officials were allegedly paid 250 pesos for each signature collected. The alleged funding came from the Puwersa ng Bayaning Atleta or PBA party list under Congresswoman Migs Nograles. One of the coordinators of PBA party list allegedly even distributed stubs in exchange for signatures. He admitted to having little knowledge about the forms, claiming that he was merely tasked to gather signatures in exchange for promised assistance from the DSWD.
Bakit nagkaganito? Pabigla-bigla ang mga papel na to. Kaya nga, kinonfiscate ko dahil hindi talaga ito nagadaan sa insaktong proseso. Biktima man lang din yung mga trabahante ko sa barangay, ma'am, is compensated with, sa mga nagpatakbo nito, compensated with 4,000 pesos.
Pag once nakapirma yung tao, bigyan ko daw ng ganito po, AX. And then, first time ko nakarinig ng AX kasi more on ayuda, ganun naman ang
ayuda.
Yes. And then that's why, ang sabi ko sa mga napag-utusan ko po, na sabihin mo na lang na assistance.
Pinaintindi mo sa kanila na People's Initiative, hindi. Ang pinaintindi mo lang, ayuda.
Ang sabi ko lang po is may baguhin lang sa saligang batas. Yun
May
lang
baguhin
po.
sa saligang batas.
Hindi ko na po alam kung ano, basta yun lang, kasi yun lang ang sabi sa akin po.
Now, while Congresswoman Nograles has yet to give her side on the matter, other congressmen had much to say about the Senate's investigation on People's Initiative. Let's bring in Rainiel Pawid for the details. Rainiel, go ahead.
Angela, among those that criticized the Senate's hearing on the People's Initiative here in Davao City was House Majority Leader Manix Dalipe. Dalipe pointed out that the COMELEC had already halted all proceedings related to the People's Initiative, making the Senate hearing irrelevant. He also suggested that some senators might not be interested in the hearing, especially since Senator Amy Marcos failed to prove allegations of payments in gathering signatures. Senator Amy, however, immediately countered, saying she will not stop until the People's Initiative is dismissed. She urged that others are still continuing to collect signatures for the initiative.
Patayin na natin itong PI na ganito. Umpisahan natin ng maayos. Bawal ang suhol. Talagang hindi for sale ang kaluluwa at budhi ng Pilipino.
House Deputy Speaker and Quezon Representative David Suarez meanwhile urged the public to be more discerning amid what others say are baseless claims that people were being paid or coerced into signing the petitions for a People's Initiative. Suarez said that although the witnesses admitted receiving 1,500 pesos, they clarified that the money was for their role as coordinators to gather signatures, not for signing the petition. In short, Suarez said that the Senate's claim that the signature drive was a paid initiative is nothing but done.
Ang nangyaring hearing sa Davao ay isang malaking aksaya ng oras at panahon. Again, sa pangalawang pagkakataon, wala po silang napatunayan na merong tumanggap ng anumang halaga dito sa People's Initiative. Kaya ang pakiusap ko sa mga kaibigan nating senador, tutukan nyo yung RBH 6 dahil dito nakatuon ang kaunlaran ng ating bansa.
Angela, the Senate is now collecting all the pieces of evidence presented earlier for further investigation. Back to you.
Thank you, Rainiel Pawid. Meanwhile, VP Sara Duterte took a break from politics to attend to her duties as DepEd Secretary. The Vice President was in Cebu City today to formalize the city's hosting of this year's Palarong Pambansa. She also met with Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia. The City of Cebu is allocating 200 million pesos for the 64th edition of the Palarong Pambansa, where 12,000 student athletes are expected to compete. As early as now, VP Sara dispelled side talk that she influenced the decision to give hosting rights to Cebu.
Wala ko buhat nga maingon nga i-influensyahan ako ang resulta sa pagpili. So you did it on your own. And congratulations.
Also, after days of responding to media, this time around, VP Sara did not grant any reporters an interview. Cebu City Mayor Michael Rama even came to her defense.
We should not be adding fuel to fire. Hanggang BP, kita man ko siyang porma nga she would not want also trouble. And that's a very good posturing.
And for her part, First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos has been at the forefront lately. After their state visit to Vietnam, the First Lady appeared as guest of honor for the DSWD's social pension program.
Bago po ako umalis ng bahay kanina, sabi po ng asawa ko, please say thank you to Secretary Rex and all the DSW officials for a job well done. Sabi po ng asawa ko, I should congratulate the angels in red vests. You are indeed the heart and soul of DSWD. So sa mga lolo at lola dyan, mga senior citizen, you are in good hands with DSWD.
This pension program is a monthly stipend given to indigent senior citizens, around 4 million of whom will be receiving 1,000 pesos per month. That is up from 500 pesos previously. And despite having doubled the amount social pensioners do get, the DSWD said that they cannot accommodate new applicants for now, given the long wait list and the lack of funds to expand the program.
May waitlisted tayo na sa 400,000. Aminin naman po natin, yung umi-exit, maliit kumpara dun sa nadadagdag taon-taon. So ang ating hiling sa ating mga mabatas, sa Kongreso, sa Senado, na sana ma-include din sa susunod. Kasi by mid-year naman, may mga budget call na yan. Sana ma-consider.
Now on to a different topic. The Philippines is now set to procure its very first submarines, which are seen to boost the country's defensive posture in the West Philippine Sea. The National Security Council made this announcement as they confirmed the success of their latest resupply mission for our troops in Ayungin. To further strengthen the country's defense, the NSC says President Marcos gave the go signal for the purchase of submarines under the Rehorizon 3 modernization program of the AFP. Some countries have already expressed interest in being involved in the project, including South Korea, France, Italy, and Spain.
Critical kasi yung submarines, no? Critical ang submarines sa atin because it allows us an opportunity to monitor and increase our maritime domain awareness. It is also a deterrence on the part of the Philippines.
Pero hinay-hinay muna. Do you guys know how much this will cost?
Well, I saw the headline, 2 trillion.
2 trillion pesos are needed to complete regarding this Horizon 3. This part of the modernization program is aimed at purchasing modern equipment for the Philippine Navy. But, eto nga, hindi pa yan kasama sa national budget this year.
Hindi, magiging 7 trillion na. Almost 8
So,
trillion.
So, in short, we haven't found the money for it.
Not yet.
Okay.
But also, apparently, hindi pala ganun kadali, no, na magpasok na lang ng submarine. I mean, it takes a very long time. Plus, you need the docking and the repair. I was able
all
to
those
go.
technical
Oo, naka-visit ako ng isang German submarine bunker from World War II. It was massive!
Yeah, it's not like you can go out and buy a submarine the next day, right? It would take years. So you'd have to there's a whole
Train the
process
people.
around it.
Yes.
Yes. But again, I think maybe the point here is that this is a good start.
It is a good start.
because
And
It's high time
we have been wanting to
modernize the
get
military and its equipment. They have been asking for it for many years now.
Yep. All right. So this came out though because the actual main topic of that discussion was actually the successful resupply mission to the Ayungin Shoal. So apparently, supply boat na ulit yung ginamit ng military, which apparently hindi hinabol this time around. So that's what changed. In fact, Ray Powell said that according to the satellite images and videos, di daw gumalaw yung mga Chinese ships from where they were parked in the sea or berthed in the sea, when usually itong supply boats lagi nilang hinabol. So, The thing is though, nauna nang sinabi ng China na may binigay daw sila sa ating special permit or special arrangement para masuplayan ng mga Pinoy sa BRP Sierra Madre. However, according to DG Malaya of the National Security Council, hindi naman daw natin kailangan ng permit.
That's always been the bone of contention, right? They think it's their territory, therefore we need to ask for permission. We think it's our territory, therefore we should be free to come in and out. But
we'll see.
But I mean,
that's
again,
a good news. I mean,
you know,
at
still
least,
good news.
Yeah, walang habulan
Oh,
today.
exactly. You know, we're gonna pause for a quick break right now, but right after that, UN Special Rapporteur Khan has recommended the Marcos administration abolish the NTF-ELCAC. The details when the big story returns. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still watching The Big Story here on One News. United Nations Special Rapporteur for Freedom of Expression Khan urged the Philippines to abolish the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or for short, the NTF-ELCAC. Khan made this recommendation after she finished her assessment of the country, which took at least 10 days. She cited positive signals in the current human rights situation, including the release of former Senator Leila De Lima and the decision to reopen peace talks. However, Khan believes that the NTF-ELCAC's methods are outdated, noting that it was created, quote, in a different context 6 years ago or during the time of former President Rodrigo Duterte.
The abolition will not only address some of the most critical drivers of red tagging, but it will also allow this administration to modernize peace-building approaches based on this changing political landscape. The abolition will allow for a more inclusive peacemaking platform.
Khan is also asking the government to officially condemn red tagging by coming up with policies that will provide protection to human rights defenders. The UN Special Rapporteur notes that legitimate activists have become targets of the government.
The vilification is often being followed by threats, unlawful surveillance, attacks, or even unlawful killing. It intimidates and chills freedom of expression. It suppresses legal actors. It isolates and antagonizes those who are unfairly attacked, puts them in a vulnerable position, and undermines public trust in civil society and the media.
As expected, the NTF-ELCAC did not take this sitting down. Camille Samonte tells us what the task force had to say about Khan's statements. Camille, what do you have?
Reg, the NTF-ELCAC is rejecting Khan's recommendation. They said it would be irresponsible to abolish the council at this time, especially that there are still 11 guerrilla fronts that have yet to be eradicated.
The National Task Force ELCAC has been the game changer in our government's fight against communist terrorism. Please take note that this is a 52-year-old running insurgency. Hindi pa po pinapanganak karamihan sa atin dito nandito na yan. And now that we have reached this stage in the campaign, we feel it's improper to call for its abolition. And it would be best, if necessary, to undertake the transition, because now that we're winning, what signal does it send to the public and to the international community?
NTF-ELCAC Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya says what can be done is transform the NTF-ELCAC into a task force that is focused on maintaining peace, unity, and prosperity in the nation. But Malaya says this will not happen until all insurgency or armed struggle in the country has ended. The NTF-ELCAC says, though, that the government does not condone red tagging and that there are legal remedies available for victims of red tagging. Reg?
Thanks for that update, Camille Samonte. Now, one of those who were able to meet the UN in person, with UN Special Rapporteur Khan was former Senator Leila De Lima, and we have her on the line right now, in fact, to tell us more about that meeting. Good evening, Senator.
And good evening.
Hello, Senator.
Senator, let's try that again. Can you hear us?
Right.
The line's just a little bit choppy right now, but Senator, we're gonna try again. Can you hear us right now?
Right, it's like they still have to fix
the line is very choppy, but we will keep trying her, we promise. But in the meantime, yes, we were just talking we know that she tweeted about this.
Yes.
We know that she had a long meeting with the UN Special Rapporteur Khan, and she tweeted that she had shared her insights on press freedom with Khan, as well as her quote-unquote difficult journey amid relentless persecution by the Duterte regime. So we are wanting to find out more details about how that meeting went, as well as Khan's other recommendations, because this isn't Khan has already made recommendations, but this is not the final report yet.
Yes.
We are anticipating that the final report will come if not later this year, then probably next year.
It takes that long.
It takes that
about
long.
a year.
Yeah, it's a country
result
assessment,
of,
right? So it took 10 days for her to be here physically.
She was here for
10, 11 days physically.
And she did have a lot of meetings. She met with Congress. She met with
Journalists,
media.
activists. Yes, she met with
So it's
our
kind
colleagues,
of like a really
especially who covered human rights
doing a
issues.
whole thesis on the Philippines with regard to freedom of expression and all these attached and related topics. I think Maria's signaling that we do have.
Let's try Senator De Lima again. Senator De Lima, do we have you now?
Yes, good evening.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Senator, for being with us. I was just saying that we saw your tweet about sharing insights with Special Rapporteur Khan on press freedom, as well as your, quote, difficult journey amid the relentless persecution of the Duterte regime. I wonder if you could tell us more about that meeting. How did it go?
Oh, it went very well. We talked for about almost one and a half hours. Very incisive, very insightful, very engaging discussion with UN Special Rapporteur, Madame Irene Khan. And we shared so much. I even gave him also two papers. One contains my insights on press freedom under Duterte, and the other one is a sort of a summary, a narration of the persecution that I experienced under the Duterte regime. And there are times really that the media has been complicit in terms of highlighting the wrong aspects of my ordeal and concentrating on slut-shaming, vilification, and there were lack of fact-checking about my cases, my situation, the massive disinformation that I got from the past regime. So I shared all of that. So it took that long. And Madame Khan also talked about her discussions with other groups, and she found it very enlightening, her engagements or interactions with NGOs and civil society groups.
Senator, she said she saw some positive signals in the Marcos administration. Case in point, your release as well as the resumption of peace talks. How do you think she took all of the experiences that you shared with her? How do you think she received that?
Well, she was so sympathetic, and she easily understood my condition. And just like others that I talked to, they would feel, it feels unbelievable or incredible that I would go through that kind of persecution. And so she was one with me. She was in solidarity with me and my causes. She understood very well my condition or my situation. She understood very well why I had to go through that difficult journey.
All right, Senator Leila, I wanted to get your thoughts on Madam Khan's recommendation to abolish the NTF-ELCAC because of quote-unquote their outdated methods. Were you able to pick her brain on this?
Oh, yes. We also talked about that exhaustively. And in fact, that has long been my recommendation also. I've been calling for the abolition of the NTF-ELCAC because it has been an instrument of repression. It has been an instrument of division. You know, they're known for red tagging that puts people's lives and security at risk. So it's time to abolish NTF-ELCAC. The Marcos administration should have done that the moment it took power because it was clearly just a remnant of the Duterte regime. We do not need NTF-ELCAC to fight off insurgency. There are better means, there are better ways to address the problem of insurgency.
Supposedly, though, Senator, the NTF-ELCAC under the Marcos administration is a different NTF-ELCAC. In your opinion, would you say that there really have been changes in the way that they conduct their business under the Marcos regime as opposed to the previous dispensation?
But has red tagging stopped? It has not stopped. It's there, targeting people, targeting those with the supposed connection with the left, activists, etc. It has not stopped. Well, there might be some change or modification in approach, just like the approach to the extrajudicial killings. We could see that, or based on the pronouncements of the current administration, they are adopting a different approach in so far as combating illegal drugs. And they can say the same about combating insurgency, but we have to see concrete proof about that. Why would we need a separate body, a super body, to handle funds in order to undertake various programs and projects and initiatives in the rural areas when other relevant agencies can do that? It's a duplication of the mandate of other agencies, like, for example, the DPWH, the DSWD. So why have a separate body for that? And its reputation has been marred by this report of red tagging. They have not stopped that practice.
Mm-hmm. All right, Senator, taking this opportunity to talk about the broader political landscape, I'm sure aware naman po kayo doon sa mga nangyayari recently, People's Initiative, word war between the former President Rodrigo Duterte and the BBM. What does the Liberal Party make all of this? Noise over Chacha and the rift between the Dutertes and Marcoses?
It's just about power game. It's just about power sharing. You know, the motivation of the Dutertes in opposing BBM is not really to fiscalize his government and check its abuses. The reason Duterte is now fighting BBM is to collect their portion of the UNITEAM spoils of victory. Because you see, nakita naman natin, the administration has withdrawn VP Sara's 500 million Intel funds, also prolongs 2 billion congressional district allocation, and they even suspended the franchise of SMNI, their main propaganda arm. So para sa mga Duterte, para kay Mr. Duterte, the BBM administration is not living up to its part of the UNITEAM bargain, that it has reneged from their deal, yung UNITEAM deal nila of power sharing. And we already saw the kind of Philippines and Philippine government under Duterte. So the Dutertes, quite ironically, are now posing themselves to be an opposition. It can only be a fake opposition. Because so far, the Dutertes are not offering any program or vision for a Philippines different from the bloodbath and corruption that we see in 2016 to 2020. So an opposition is supposed to be an alternative to the incumbent administration.
Right.
Do we honestly believe that the Dutertes are the alternative that the Philippines deserves now or even in 2028? So this is just power game.
Right.
Self-interest and propagation in power by the current administration, then self-preservation on the part of the Duterte.
Right, Senator, but let's steer the conversation back to the Liberal Party. I was wondering what kind of conversations you were having about its future and whether or not the party saw an opportunity here to build coalition and grow your base.
We are, of course, always after that. We are, of course, always trying to build our base, but we are currently observing the political landscape. We are currently observing the what's going on, the breakup, the burning of bridges, what seems to be irrevocable already burning of bridges between the two camps. Now, they're destroying each other. Now, the Liberal Party has been doing its part in broadening our base and in pursuing further our advocacies. We would rather be issues-based than any kind of political motivation to enter the fray, so to speak.
We've been waiting, Senator, actually, for the Liberal Party to have like a pretty solid stance on this whole Cha-Cha issue, whether or not you really do believe, as a party, that the charter needs updating. Now, we did have former Senate President Drilon here on The Big Story. I believe that was Tuesday night. And he did tell us that he agreed that some charter provisions indeed need updating for 2024 and beyond. What are your thoughts on this? Do you agree with him? And would you support charter change, and up to where?
Well, the current position of the Liberal Party, as articulated by our president, Congressman S. Lagman, is that we're against the ongoing People's Initiative for the on the Constitution. They're professing it's professed to be just an amendment, but we think it's revision. And also that there is really no law supporting it. Because in a Supreme Court case, Santiago versus Comelec, the Supreme Court has said in clear terms that the law supposedly now on initiative is quite inadequate or insufficient insofar as amendments on the Constitution. So we are against it, and the way that they are pursuing it, very questionable. All these talks about signatories or would-be signatories being misled, and no clear explanation on why those proposal is being presented to them, or that the proposed amendment, which is limited only to whether it's going to be a joint or a separate voting. So we are against the People's Initiative as it is being done, and especially so if it would target subsequently or ultimately political provisions. We may be amenable to amendments on economic provisions, but insofar as political provisions are concerned, it depends on the political provision. If it is about, let's say, giving more teeth to the anti-dynasty provision of the Constitution, then we will be all for it. But if it's about perpetuation in power, lifting of term limits, then we have to interpose our objection
wondering,
to that.
Senator, why your opposition hasn't been louder. It's a perfect time. The Dutertes and the Marcoses have been involved in this world war. That leaves a lot of space for the opposition to reclaim the stage and to give a voice to what people are really thinking and wondering, and it's all over social media anyway. We were wondering if we can expect something from the Liberal Party. Maybe you guys have something planned and we just don't know about it.
We are simply averse to politicking. So if we see that it is plain and simple politicking, we say hands off. But if you see that there's an opening for further advocating for our own causes, the causes of democracy, the causes of rule of law, and the causes of good governance, that will always play a role. But when it comes to this fight on power sharing, and that both camps are not
Senator.
advancing common good or the public good, then we are not about to just enter the fray. We'd rather be more happening and act accordingly.
Right. I've last question to Senator De Lima. When going back to Duterte and Marcoses, the Dutertes and the Marcoses, when Team Unity was formed, did you expect na magkakagulo sila like this? And do you believe that VP Sara Duterte should resign in being the Deputy Secretary?
Well, as Education Secretary, she must resign because she's supposed to be part of the official family, and she's expected to be a team player. She cannot be seen as the opposing policies and pronouncements of the government of which she's part of the official family of the president. So delicadeza dictates that she resigns. Now, insofar as whether or not we expected it, yes, we expected it because and not for public good, really, and not really based on platforms, on visions, on principles. So they united in order to defeat what they thought was a formidable opponent, and that is VP Leni. They had to join forces because they saw the massive crowd then. It's not a surprise that it's happening, that the breakup is happening or has finally happened.
Yeah. Okay. So much more to talk about. We're gonna have to leave that there for tonight because we've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully you can join us in studio next time. That was former Senator Leila De Lima.
Thank you and good night.
All right, let's take a quick break for now. But right after that, we will be speaking with IPO Philippines' and Claire Cabochan on their efforts to rid the infamous Green Hills Shopping Center of fakes and counterfeit products. Keep it here on One News.
back. You're still watching the big story here in One News.
Girl, suki ba kayo ng mga... Ayoko naman tatanungin sa inyo, pero suki ba kayo ng Class A items sa Green Hill?
Okay, you never know. They're so good, ah.
Ang kapal mo ng mukha mo yung taga doon, di ba? Pero anyway, this next story might sting, no pun intended, because the government is now doubling down on efforts to clean up and rehabilitate the image of Green Hill Shopping Center in San Juan City. The Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines said that it is working full-time with stakeholders to remove Green Hills from the United States' blacklist. That's after the U.S. Trade Representative's office issued its report this week, which included Green Hills once again among the notorious markets for counterfeiting and piracy list. The USTR also cited Bangkok's MBK market and Beijing's Silk market. The agency says counterfeit trade harms consumers, workers, small businesses, and ultimately the U.S. economy.
Now to talk about this planned overhaul for Green Hills, we have IPO Philippines Deputy Director General Anne-Claire Cabochan. Good evening, ma'am. It's good to have you on the show.
Good evening.
Now, we've seen reports that Green Hills has been on that list for many years now. And as far as you know, how much of the shopping mall deals in counterfeit goods? Lahat po ba ng stalls?
I personally, I don't think it's all the stalls. We could see that even when we go around, there are locally produced handicrafts. But we also see that there are indeed counterfeit goods. So as to the proportion, I would not be sure of that.
Talk us through your efforts, IPO Phil's efforts to, I mean, it's not really your remit to crack down per se on these counterfeit sellers, but it is part of your, I understand you're working with police officers, pero what kind of efforts have you guys made in terms of trying to rehabilitate Green Hills?
Yes, first of all, I would like to say, of course, that for the last 10 years, the Philippines has been out of the U.S. Trade Representative's Special 301 report. The 301 report, which is submitted to the U.S. Congress, highlights, the state of play of intellectual property rights in protection and enforcement all over, like where U.S. goods are and services are also affected. Now, we are, however, still in the notorious markets list, and for this year, Green Hills being there, it has been there in the past. But I think what is important to highlight is that the report itself also acknowledges the efforts made by government with better coordination with the local government unit as well as the shopping centers administration and rights holders.
All right, Ms. Cabochan, I understand that Green Hills, of course, does have a lot of counterfeit goods. It could take, you just have to walk in to see that there are a lot of them around. But the problem is, I think, kind of global. In that sense, what is the Philippines doing to really maybe, prevent the importation of these goods? My understanding is we do not actually really produce a lot of these goods. For example, the bags, etc., the watches, maybe the piracy part. It's easy to copy files and multiply these files. But is there a larger plan? Not saying, stop hitting on Green Hills, but it's actually a bigger problem than just Green Hills Mall.
Indeed, it is a bigger problem. It's just that it is Green Hills that was included in the notorious markets list. But as far as protection of intellectual property rights and the enforcement of these rights is concerned, we are working very hard to ensure that, first of all, people are more aware that these rights exist and that we respect those rights. Those are rights of the rights holders of intellectual property. Now, as to your question on importation, that is indeed a problem because many times these goods are smuggled or misdeclared. So at the border, I think there should be, we are working very closely with the Bureau of Customs because the Bureau of Customs is also part of the National Committee on Intellectual Property Rights.
Tell us about these efforts. You said you're working very hard to educate people on property rights. What sort of efforts are we talking about?
Well, we have already the IP Academy. We go all over the Philippines and we work with schools and institutions, even platforms, to be able to talk about IP rights and protection and enforcement. We have help desks established in key cities and provinces, and we are working with businesses to be able to educate members, for instance, for chambers, so that they are also respectful of these intellectual property rights. We have partnerships with schools and institutions of higher learning. So we are trying to really change the mindset and make people aware that when you purchase or you produce a product that is registered under the trademark of another company, that you are actually stealing from that company.
Right. I went to Green Hills recently, and when I saw the place, the Changi itself, I didn't see the luxury bags anymore. Okay, ang mga nakita ko na lang doon, at least on the entrance, yung mga local products. All right. And I was wondering what happened to the businesses there, what happened to the people.
I've not been there lately, but yes, they have a section there for locally produced products, and in fact, we are in discussions with the Department of Trade and Industry. Has been in discussion also with Green Hills Shopping Center Administration that there should be more areas that's devoted for locally produced goods. Now, as to those counterfeit products, we are aware that they are still there. It may be that at some time they have this. I think there's a contract there for those store where the stall owners would, it's only for a particular time, and probably the time had expired. But really, the move for the Green Hills administration is that they are transforming the mall to be able to house more premium items, and of course, transform the mall so that it no longer is classified as a haven for counterfeit goods.
All right, so basically an image overhaul for Green Hills.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us tonight. That was IPO Phil Deputy Director General Ann Cabochan.
Thank you.
Now up next, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg apologized to parents who say Instagram contributed to their children's suicides or exploitation. Details when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching The Big Story here on One News.
Meta Chief Executive Mark Zuckerberg on Wednesday apologized to families of online child exploitation victims at a very contentious U.S. Senate hearing. He was prodded to do so by Republican Senator Josh Hawley. Watch this clip.
37% of teenage girls between 13 and 15 were exposed to unwanted nudity in a week on Instagram. You knew about it. Who did you fire?
I'm not going to answer that.
Because you didn't fire anybody, right? You didn't take any significant
I don't think
action.
it's appropriate to talk about like
It's not
individual
appropriate.
HR decisions.
Do you know who's sitting behind you? You've got families from across the nation whose children are either severely harmed or gone, and you don't think it's appropriate to talk about steps that you took? Why not? Don't you think they deserve some compensation for what your platform has done?
Senator, our job and what we take seriously is making sure that we build industry-leading tools, find harmful
To
content,
make money.
take it off the services,
To make money.
and to build tools that empower parents.
So you
that
didn't
help
take
working
any
moms.
action. You didn't
That's
take
not
any
true,
action.
Senator.
You didn't fire anybody. You haven't
It's not true.
compensated a
That's
single
not-
victim.
that's
Let
not
me
what I
ask you
said.
this. Let me ask you this. There's families of victims here today. Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now?
Well,
they're here. You're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures. Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good people?
I'm sorry for everything that you involved in. It's terrible. No one should have to go through the things that your families have suffered. And this is why we invested so much and are going to continue doing industry-leading efforts to make sure that no one has to go through the types of things that your families have had to suffer.
And that's also relevant to us because the Philippines, as we know, is amongst the most vulnerable to child sexual abuse and exploitation. But the numbers are going up. We were just discussing that yesterday, as you said.
And although the government said wala pa naman dito, it's
Yung
maybe
AI,
a matter of
yung
yung AI part.
But they're having a hard time
How wide is the investigation
clamping
is.
down on online child sexual abuse in the Philippines.
Right. Okay. Before we go, time for our big picture for tonight. This also has something to do with kids. Now, this is a kid's dream, but a parent's worst nightmare. Police rescued 3-year-old Ethan Hopper, who managed to get himself stuck inside a Hello Kitty Toys claw machine in Brisbane, Australia. The boy entered the machine through the prize dispenser chute. Officers broke the glass and picked up the boy safely. Ethan's father said the family has since walked past the area where the claw machine was, and Ethan told him, "Don't worry, Dad, I won't do it again," as he pointed at the new machine that replaced the one that was broken after he broke into it. But you know what, guys? This is such a fun game.
Yeah, I know.
And in Tagaytay...
But did you ever win?
No. But in Tagaytay, they have one where it's actually like big human size.
Yeah.
There's a pool of toys and then they suspend you over it. Then you can like claw.
I think those human-sized machines are available in Japan now.
Yeah, there was one in Tagaytay now.
One in Tagaytay.
A child or a person,
or even
an adult could actually go on it. They'll put you in a harness. And then you can go and grab your own toys, right?
At least you can grab it. Kasi pag dyan, lumuluwag siya.
I don't even know how the child, who's I think 3, managed to fit in that
They're
machine. Must be
Anyways,
dispensing big prizes.
it is a nightmare as a parent.
Yeah.
Is it your nightmare?
I hope you got
not the worst nightmare, but certainly a nightmare. At least you can break the glass, kind of.
I hope he got the Hello Kitty toy.
I hope he got the toy.
All right, that's it for the big story on this Friday night.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night and a great weekend.